everyone, it's Jessie from b.a.r.e Flower Farm. Who knew I would be in a t-shirt right now? It is November 16th, a beautiful day. Been doing a lot of cleanup. My brother-in-laws have been here, so got them to help me with digging up the dahlias. So we still have another row of dahlias, but otherwise they are done. Today though, I wanted to talk about yarrow and specifically how my yarrow is doing, me splitting yarrow, and just talking a little bit about learnings from planting too closely to one another and what I would do differently given what I know now. As I'm speaking, my brother-in-law is doing leaf collection, and that is going to be super handy in the next few days as I use it. But back to yarrow. All right, so this is one of my yarrow patches. This is an area where I really push the spacing. And I know that as flower farmers, we're always trying to push the spacing and see how close we can get things next to each other. Yarrow is a plant where it probably makes sense to actually adhere to the guidelines. Now, they say give it 12 to 18 inches. 18 inches might be a little bit too much. I gave it like 6 inches-ish, maybe even 5 inches, way too close. And what ends up happening is they obviously aggressively grow. And what I learned the other day was that when they are too close to each other and they feel too crowded, second year blooms are not going to look great. Someone also told me that the summer berries series, which is this, is also not great in second year, but we'll see. So what I'm doing right now is I am dividing the yarrow, and I started this process and I want to show you what that looks like. But you can see these are pretty good looking clumps. I mean, I cannot believe how quickly this stuff grew. And basically I'm gonna fill this entire row and hopefully get at least a productive crop out of here and give some more space here for this yarrow to grow. Now, the one advantage of having such closely crowded yarrow was that it really smothered out some weeds that are very, very aggressive because they also grow by rhizome. So a really good example is this over here. This is, I think, like sorghum or dock. Regardless, it spreads like wildfire. You can see over here, it's got these like little like root rhizomes, and there's just like a network underneath here. So where I didn't have anything growing that much, I had a lot of it, and I've been trying to smother it out with some of this paneling over here. It was all over here. I just took a hoe and kind of try to get out as much of it as possible. But it really didn't take over here because the yarrow outgrew it. So I'm finding yarrow to be a really good form of weed management. So one of my, I think, regrets is when we took off the sod for this growing area, I really should have tilled in the layer, because what ended up happening is you got grasses like this that have a really long taproot, and if you don't take out the whole root, you end up helping it regenerate, and it's almost like pinching it. You end up having it come back even stronger. So where I had yarrow though, I didn't really have that issue, and that was particularly in places where I planted close together. Now let me show you the flip side where I did give yarrow more space. So this is my next patch of yarrow, and it is now borderline weed, grass, yarrow area where it's kind of hard to tell where the pathway ends, this grass pathway, and the yarrow ends. So you can see how much space I gave them. I gave them over a foot, probably about 16 inches of spacing. They are obviously growing, but it also allowed a lot of room for the grasses to come in. So I do need to clean this up, but there's this trade-off, right, where you give it a little too much room because you know it needs it in order to expand. But then you also invite the weeds if you have weeds. And then if you don't give it enough space, then you end up splitting. And so I think what I would do next time is I definitely wouldn't give it 6 inches, but I also wouldn't give it like 18 inches. So probably happy medium is like 9 to 12 inches if I were growing yarrow again. So back to this spot. That's why you're seeing me give basically less room in between. I know that this distance is a little bit further, but there's a little bit like a crisscross over here. So, oh look, it's a grub. It's a Japanese beetle grub. I'm gonna kill that right after. But yeah, so you can see I am giving a little bit more space, but not as much. And now let me show you what it looks like when I am dividing them. So I'm gonna show you what this looks like when I go all the way down. you can see how there's like little clumps of plants here. And what I would do is basically I would just take a shovel and take out one of these clumps. Now, sometimes in the process of trying to divide it, I get a couple of clumps, which is fine. But really the goal here is to break this up a little bit so that way they feel like they have some room, and then obviously divide my stock. This one is probably the easiest for me to film and show you at the same time while I am actually digging, trying to do two things at the same time. So here you can see that once I take this out, here we go. This is a nice, perfect clump for me to put over there. This over here that I just dug up is a good example of a yarrow plant that established and really started spreading out. You can see how small some of these are. Like, this is an individual one, and I got like a really, really big clump. So I am just gonna take this and transport it over there and transplant it. So it's kind of funny because this looks like a giant yarrow plant bush, but when you start peeling the onion back, you can see that obviously there's gaps over here, right? So this over here would be a great clump to take and transplant to. And what I've found is that yarrow is just such a hardy plant. You don't have to walk on eggshells and feel like you're killing the plant. It is pretty robust. It is November 16th, so I think we've already entered into Persephone phase, which is where we get less of 10 hours of day length per day. So, but at the same time, I think that they will still be quite hardy and be able to survive the transplant, even though it's a little bit later than what I would have expected. But clearly you can tell the soil is very workable. It is not at all frozen, not even close to it. The high is like 68 degrees today. So tomorrow's going to be another day of the 60s. So I think that these should be hopefully fine, and we'll find out next year if they're fine or not. And there you have it. Got a few more yarrow plants. How many is it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. 15 yarrow plants is pretty good. And I could definitely put more. This area, I was actually trying to overwinter ranunculus. I definitely have some that sprouted, except all the rabbits started eating them. So maybe I'll just expand yarrow over here, because I know I'll definitely get production from yarrow and they sell really well. So I'm very tempted to basically create a yarrow farm. And there you have it. Super easy to divide, transplant yarrow, and I just feel like that you can't grow enough yarrow, at least where I am. So I would love to know in the comments if you've grown summer berries and how that did for you in year 2. For the most part, I've heard people say that it's come back up fine and vigorous, but there was a post in the ASCFG group, I think the other day, where someone said that the second year blooms are just not as robust and prolific. So I'm a little bit worried about that, because you know how much I love my yarrow. Anyway, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.